Welcome to Reinventions in Between, your go-to podcast for real stories of reinvention that happen between life stages, career changes, and living abroad. I'm Sara Kojola, life coach, intercultural trainer, and reinventions facilitator, helping people on their quest to what's next. I have reinvented myself a few times, and in the past 16 years, I have collected fascinating stories of change. In each episode, my guests will talk about why and how they took the leap and seized the opportunity to change their life. Let's begin.
I create, and so I don't know if that's a profession as such, but I like to design and I like to create myself, do sourcing, product development. In our life as an expat where you move a lot, it's easier somehow to be creative. Like if you move overseas and you have a career in more like a lawyer or banking, you have to find a new career path because your diplomas don't match. Or even for doctors, if you can be a doctor a medical doctor in Australia, move to the States and then not being able to practice. So being creative, it was easier.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm very happy to have Ingrid Ploem with me today. We have a funny story to tell about how we met, which is almost 14 years ago, 13, 12. I had a very young child and we met in Thailand, where we both were living part of our life, this expat life, which is interesting and challenging at the same time. Welcome, Ingrid.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy and thank you for accepting my invitation. We discussed a little bit about the opportunity to talk reinvention in your case, which is not really changing career, but is a different way of reinventing what you do. And I was fascinated to see how your ability to adapt in every country. I was following you on social media and on your website. And I was fascinated to see how you were so able to, like a chameleon, change, enter a new space, meet new people, and create something with your ability, which is creativity. Do you want to explain what your profession is?
Yeah, I create, and so I don't know if that's a profession as such, but I like to design and I like to create myself, do sourcing, product development. In our life as an expat where you move a lot, it's easier somehow to be creative rather than because then it's easier to find something that you can do.
Oh, definitely, because I think creative minds are always in search of feed their curiosity, and it's very easy to liaise and create new connection with the people in every country, because we're just so curious about their culture and their way of painting or the color that they use also in their costume.
Yeah, and also we were lucky to live in Asia, where it was very easy to produce something, to create something, because everything it was just on the street, all your ideas and hole in the wall places where you could find material and have something made in a small scale and try things out, which became more difficult in Europe because it was all the manufacturing or all the processes were kind of shifting 30 years ago. So it was easier in Asia to just to get ideas and find things and make things and find
like having small little labs everywhere. You could experiment. It was nice to have this opportunity to experiment as well and test new ideas.
It's sometimes like if you move overseas and you have a career in more like a lawyer or law, banking, you have to find a new career path because your diplomas don't match. Or even for doctors, if you can be a doctor a medical doctor in Australia, move to the States and then not being able to practice. So being creative, it was easier to find things to do.
That's true. What's your background in art?
From a younger age, I've always had an interest in creating and drawing, and I was a young mom, so I didn't study art college, but I always went as an after schools activities I've always done, and then when I moved around, I did a lot of self
Development and
yeah.
self-teaching. Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of courses in graphic design. I did in Italy actually when I lived in Italy. Graphic design because I felt like when we lived in China, I worked for as a volunteer for a magazine that was just starting, and I really liked it. So when we moved to Italy, I thought, oh, I'd like to know a bit more about it. So I've always done like courses, but my main subject has always been ceramics. So from a young age, always done. I love clay, but it's not in every country easy to find a facility to do it, and because you need to build for it. And I've always come back to somehow, in all the moves and all the creative activities I've done, it's always been ceramics that's been the leading subject.
Beautiful. I still remember some that I saw when you were living in Vietnam, I think. Yeah. Beautiful art.
That became a bit of because I've always started in every country we moved, like as a small entrepreneur, just making something or find things in the market and then change it a bit and then sell it in small scale. When we moved to Vietnam, I met a Belgian friend, and we both had the same kind of aesthetic taste, and we found a supplier who could make beautiful ceramic, and we thought, oh, what can we do, because it's so beautiful. So we kind of developed a line based on their skill, and that became such a great success. We thought, okay, well, how many do we need to order? Well, it was like 50 pieces per color, per size. Like, oh, if you take 24, I take 24. Or if we do, or we see, 12, and then we sell, and it became such a good success so that in the end it became a real business, but it became such a serious business that we opened a shop and we were exporting to 20 countries, and it became like at a stage that we thought, okay, either we have to now find investors, and then you spend more time with the legal side of it and the logistics side of it and less creating. So when we moved, after 6 years, we sold the business and moved on to the next. When you move to different countries, it's always a bit of a challenge to find something to do, but because it's going to be for a short time. So do you want to start and visualize the long and the big picture, or do you change? That's the luxury we had.
Just start and do.
Start and do, and then see
what you have. And I think it's so beautiful the way I was listening to you, the way you were kind of interweaving the different cultures within the production that you were creating. So you wanted to highlight the style of the ceramist, but you also brought your individual styles in the project. And I'm amazed that I'm always very positive, and I try to highlight in this project, the podcast, on how allowing ourselves to experiment and to go through the challenges of change, trial and error as well, when there are some mistakes which are part of the learning journey, the results are always positive, and there's always an exponential growth or turnout of what has been previously conceived, because there's something magic, I think. It's really building and having a big impact on what's happening.
Yeah, I think for me, because we moved, I think, 11 times within like 9 countries or so in 30 years' time. But for me, it's also the people that I meet determine like what kind of path I take, because I've always liked to work with other people. You have to start by yourself because you move to a new country. So you've got to, where do you meet people? And then how do you find people that have the same interest or maybe a whole different interest? And maybe you like that as well. And so it's always been fun to, like, when we met, I was, because my children, I came across somebody who approached me to make baby products. Remember,
Mhm.
we so this was a designer from the Netherlands, and they wanted to have a small production line, but they couldn't do it, and they couldn't find somebody in the Netherlands. So they approached me to see, do you know some people who could make it for us in Thailand? And of course, in Thailand, there's a lot of beautiful, skilled people. So I looked in an area where there was like a women's project who were making handcrafted things. So at a certain time, we had about 80 people in Chiang Mai doing knitting and crochet work, and that was fantastic. But it crosses your path, your approach, and you think, oh well, I'm here. I could see where this goes, and then finding the materials for them and do some product development. So that's really fun. And then you go to those places where you see all the women working on product. It's really fun. And I did the same for a jewelry accessory brand as well. They had if you go to Thailand, you have these beautiful beads. And so my customer would come twice a year. We would go to the markets, find all the materials, and then I would find the people who could make it for us. And so that was a fun thing as well. But it's more you get approached and you think, okay, I might enjoy that actually. I like to do that. And then so
the creative process is always exciting and putting together. And I think like in those countries, some of the countries, not many, but I suppose there are many others in Africa. I suppose you can also source a lot of beautiful materials where we become, we go back like being a child again.
Exactly. It's like candy stores, right?
Candy store, but beautiful things where you can create something beautiful and then set up a business and also be able to make a profit out of it. But not just profit, you were helping some charity companies as well, right? In Thailand.
Well, trying to find, that's the advantage of working on small scale as well. You find the people and it's, they become friends. It's nice also. I like to find places where for me, it's more important to work with the people that you have a good feeling and a genuine, it's not the mass produced.
Exactly. And it was basically giving back to the community, supporting them and making something that could have a profit for the community that was going to use and buy those products. I still have some of the baby products.
Yeah. I might still have a few just for keepsake. Yeah.
Yes. My daughter was, she loved playing with the tiny bag, and we still have we're using the baby mat. Yes, we keep it as it
also depends on the stage of life, because I remember that you were a young mom, and of course, then you have an affinity with. You look for product and you think, oh, well, it needs to be something, that you like, and stage in life as well. Yeah.
Well, now I can tell you also why I was so persistent and I wanted to have you on my podcast, because you were the connecting moment, the starting point of my new project, because I quit my job when I was in Italy and we moved to Thailand. And of course, after having a baby and becoming a family, and you become a mother or a parent, you completely shift your priorities and your values. And at that time, I remember there was these famous bisphenol, the plastic in the baby bottles. And everyone was scared and becoming crazy about the health of the kids and babies. And so when I met you and I saw doing those beautiful things, you were such an inspiration for myself. And that's what I started this online business with baby products and healthy, either sustainable or eco-friendly and ethical produce items. And it all started in Thailand. Then we moved back to Italy. We were repatriated after 4 years. I tried to basically replicate. I moved my business with me and tried to find, I was trying to bring those special products that I found in Thailand through you and your company, because that was special to me. And I was trying to offer to the Italian customers something different, which was attached to my experience. But that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. which is
Well,
also,
I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
it was my first reinvention, I would say.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yes, it was so pivotal for me, such an inspiration. And I love your creativity. I remember I was really looking at everything you were doing also when you moved to Vietnam. And I just enjoyed watching everything you were capable of putting together. I wanted to ask you how easy or how difficult was to build those relationships, find partnership. How would you start in a new country? You mentioned before that volunteering was something important for you.
Volunteering is very important because that's where you find your interests and you can learn. And volunteer work is not, it's still a commitment. It's not, but it gives you the opportunity to try new things without fear of, oh my gosh, I'm being paid for it. So you got to, so you can, so that's a very good thing for me always. And what I've also learned moving around is that you've got to try to not stick with one group. So if you only meet people, let's say you have kids in school and you volunteer at school, also try to do something else. Maybe it's a tennis club, or maybe it's something. So try to find a few different interests and people, because otherwise you become very you can become very isolated. So that was always for me the way to find, and it's almost like speed dating if you move to a new country, right? Trying to meet as many people as possible, and then try to find the people that either share the same interest or in the same kind of, not even like the age group, because that's the advantage as well. If you do that, it's like you meet people, younger people and older people. I had friends when I was in my 30s who were 70, and you still, but if you have the same interest, it's really, so that was always for me. The thing with people that I connected most with, or that I always try to start small entrepreneurial business, were the people that who are also like looking for, okay, what can we do here, and have the same kind of positive, like, okay, what can we do?
Attitude, yes.
Yeah. So that was for me always the thing that I looked into, for people, positiveness and entrepreneurial. Let's just try things, see where it goes, where it takes us, and go from there. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Really nice. What was one of the challenge despite moving countries and having to start over again?
Yeah, the difficult part is that that it's not for a long time, and you never know with companies, because it was always true to my husband's work, who are paying most for the bills. So you have to kind of go with that. So that it's not, that it might be for a year, it might be for 2 years. And then we moved to countries where they said it's for 3 years, and then they moved us out in a year's time, or they said, oh, it's only for 3 years, and then we stayed for 7 years. That's the hardest part, because you want to go and to develop. And like I said, in Vietnam, we were 6 years. And in those 6 years, the business was, you have the time to grow into something more serious. And then you think, but then you're also an expert, and there will be a time that we move. So what do we, and so that's always in the back of your mind. It's like, I can start something. When we moved to the States, we were there for the last 7 years before we moved back to the Netherlands. And that was almost by choice that we said, okay, this is 7 years. Either I have to start doing something really serious now and stay, or I would just, have to move, and I want to do it one more time, and I don't want to wait too long. So now we moved back to the Netherlands, and now I know it's okay. This is it. We have to settle. Now I need to get a little bit more, like all those puzzle pieces and all the things that I've learned in all those different countries, all the skill sets and all the network and the people that come across. I can bring all that now with me here in the Netherlands to do it one more time, to start one more time.
Oh, I can't imagine what your project would look like.
Well, you have to come and see.
Oh, definitely. I will come next time I pass by Europe, for sure.
That counts for all the listeners, by the way. You're always welcome. We're just 10 kilometers above Amsterdam, so please come and see me. Yeah.
beautiful, great invitation. Thank you. Now I'm curious, have you thought about these projects already, or you're still very busy with the house project?
Yeah, but it's part of it. So that's the key. That's the key. So the house is basically picked on my kind of next 30 years kind of plan. So the house is, like I mentioned, is from 1740. So it's a beautiful old home that we are renovating. And part of it is being allocated as a workspace for me to work with clay and to create with textiles and clay. So I need to organically see how it grows if I want to open the space for workshops, or I'm going to just start, create, and see what happens. If there's people in the neighborhood who wants to come and join the space, or if it's going to be the tourist, because we're in a very touristy area where we overlook the windmills. So it's a beautiful old heritage site. So we have a lot of tourists walking our street, and I can open the door if I like to, and just have people come and see me.
Oh,
see what happens.
beautiful.
It's like I want to do this till I'm 90 or so. And just keep busy and have people come and see and visit and create and just enjoy. I think that there's a lot of, it's my perspective at least. I don't know if it's just my interest or if I feel that we have a great need for old traditional ways of make, and just have our hands create again and be around people who feel the same. So if it's just like sitting together with a few people knitting or creating something together, or individually, and chat about life, and I think surround ourselves with positivity and nice people, and get our hands busy.
Oh, beautiful.
That we've done over all those years, right? Hundreds of years. Lost it a little bit.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I wanted to highlight that one of the big patterns that came out with this podcast and interviewing people, which becomes for me a study, is really how art or creativity is really knocking onto the door of the people. And if you don't express it, it comes out. Either you become sick, or you quit your job because you want to, because you feel it's a need.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the age that I'm in. I'm 90, I'm 59, but I think there is the mass production, and like if you can make things yourself, it just gives you such a good feeling. If you can, if you have a cup and you've made it yourself, it's just, it gives a good feeling, right? And it's, and to do that together with people that are, I don't know, that's just, that you get either inspired by, or,
For sure. I think we need to go back to basic, simple things that fulfill our life. And we completely miss the real value of shared moments, and also using, as you said, using our hands to create. All these new fast world is not really bringing any value. It's just a fast consumption, and we clearly lose interest. And I think I read recently that in Amsterdam, it started this movement where in some cafe people meet and read or knit, and they are completely device-free spaces.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone now for so many years of like having money talk, and it needs to make money. I'm luckily enough in this, it's nice to earn a little bit of money, but it's, enough is enough. And it's also nice to just, see things a little bit like in a smaller scale instead of, I've done that in Vietnam, and it's been fantastic, but it's also less fun for me. Some people get a kick out of it, and it's great, but it's not the part of, what I like to do. So.
Of course, everyone should stay true to oneself and be aligned to what are the values. And with this, I'd like to ask you my last question I really love this conversation. What do you think would be your impact in what you're doing towards others, and, for example, your children, your family, of these, your contribution to the world and the way you have lived?
I hope I can just let people, if people come and visit me, that they go out of, that they go home with the feeling of having felt welcome and positive. I think we need, we need positive things in life, with all the things that are happening in the world. And if you look at the big picture, you think, is it really going so bad? It's not, most people want the same thing. And I hope that they visit me, or if they get to know me, that they think, there's positive, genuine.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I feel already reconnected to myself after this conversation. So
yeah, well, if you're you're far away, but if you're in Europe, please come and see.
Definitely, I want to come and visit. I will. And thank you so much for accepting my invitation. This was a new episode that I wanted to give a different perspective, not just telling stories of career change, but also different ways. So exploring different perspective and different ways of rethinking our contribution and the way we craft our time, our activity, and how we really interact with others. So this is season 3 of my podcast. I'm happy to explore other ways to talk about this topic that I'm really passionate about, which started with me, of course, after moving to Thailand, which was the first expatriation and the first culture shock and the first of many firsts I've witnessed in that country. But it was very important. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, Sarah. See you.
Thank you for listening. Now I want to hear from you. What's your number one takeaway from my conversation with my guest? We would love to hear your comments. You'll find all the links in the show notes. If you're curious about reinvention, go download my free guide, Your First Steps. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you'll never miss the opportunity to spark curiosity and get inspired on how you can navigate change in your own life.